Hello, welcome to this video. My name is Allie with Amory Speaks. Probably should have shut my window before I started. Classically now there's, cars starting. Sorry for the background noise. Today is July 18th, 2026, about 8:19 in my morning. And I wanted to do, this might just be kind of like a random morning ponderings type of video, which I think is going to grow into something of a bit more of a standard video. I'm juggling between blowing the dust off of deconstructing distortions and doing a few episodes of that on a couple of terms that to me they're prominent right now, and they're also not just in the world out there, kind of clickbaity things, or pressing problems that seem to be growing out there in the world, but also for me in my own growth as a student, where I'm at in my own development, they're very impactful topics and terms. So I'm going to keep on keeping on with that and see how that develops in the near future. But for now, for this morning, I thought I'm just going to do a bit of a kind of talk it out video. I've recorded probably 5 of these and trashed every single one. But here again this morning, I'm going to try one more time. Topic being privacy, except, I really am going to talk first about what a sacred boundary is, and because I feel like privacy has this kind of stigma, a definition tag to it. It has a real an appearance of a certain thing, and it seems like it's kind of cut and dry, black and white, and yet it's really not. It's very much gray and layered, which is, again, I think it's a great topic to try to, a great word, to use as that, having those videos, deconstructing distortions, or, years ago I did comprehending consciousness, which was more for beginners, people who are waking up and hear these kind of terms out there and want to know what people are talking about. Deconstructing distortions, I was doing, more for people at a student level who are already sort of awakened, have already been a part of that world, and even had time to, and by that world I kind of mean the real world, but the esoteric, occult, new age, even the ancient traditions, having all of those different understandings, you find a common ground. And so for those of us who have been searching, learning, researching, collecting information for years, start to really beat the ground in the central point, and start to realize there really is unifying ground here. And deconstructing distortions is built off understanding there's unification of the ground, and that we all want what's best. We all want truth. We don't want to have divisive, distorted sections and clubs and all these little really esoteric and initiated gateways of knowledge in this really strict linear way of learning things, that those things become less appealing the more of the center ground that you actually understand, and if you really want to find it. If you're not looking for the center point, if you're not looking for harmonious solutions, you're going to find whichever little group boosts your ego, loves your shadow loves, or feels empowered by, and in this special righteousness place of we know more than others, or we have the best one, or ours is for X, Y, and Z reason more than another or something. if that's what you're looking for, I mean, that's what you're going to find. But deconstructing distortions and talking about terms, I was hoping to sort of break the barriers and have a really fresh look at these terms that are highly manipulated, even in the woke consciousness world, even with the truth seekers and these kind of things. I found myself bumping up against terms that even they had an issue with. Even they were holding on very tightly to their own definition in their corner with their specialness, like it's just mine. And I would see the term and I would see the action of that and be like, that to me, that's, you know, not conducive to organic sharing. It's not conducive to true growth, and or forgiveness or love or any of these things that, you know, positive systems and One Truth is built on and around. And so I you know, was like, okay, I'm going to grab these terms and I'm going to talk about them at this level, you know, a deeper level, for those who with ears to hear, you know. And so, to me, that term privacy fits really well, and maybe I may do that at a later time. So for today, I'm not going to tackle that topic so much. What I'm going to do is start from the beginning, kind of start at the foundation and talk about boundaries and what systems of thought, energetic systems, would look to define their version as. So, yeah, that's my preamble. That's my point for today. So, if we look systematically at what the fundamentals of the laws each say, positive systems, boundaries are created porously. What is porous? You know, it has holes in it. It's like a sponge. It's got many different avenues of entrance and exit within it. I like to look at it like a circle and saying that 360 degrees are all acceptable. Every single one of them is a channel through which information can travel in or out. And that all angles, all perspectives are just as readily open and accepted as any other point. Conversely, negative systems have selected channels within the 360 degrees in order to monitor and authorize exchanges, external and internal. And so their boundary is not porous. Their boundary is, in fact, very strong. It's, you know, what we would consider normally when we talk about a boundary or a wall. You know, because it's not passable. You have to find the door to go in. And when you find the door, there's probably a soldier out front of it asking you if you have an appointment. You know, so there's first and foremost, there is this this degree of acceptability promoted from the very start, from internally, from written in the DNA. Every choice and every exchange is, the checkpoint is, okay, this is open and accepting, this is closed, and I'm blanking on a word for like the opposite of accepting. It's, oh my gosh, discriminatory. It's very discriminatory. Think of better words later. What my wording, my personal kind of, here's my sketches, my sketchy doodles of notes here. But if you see here, this is like a person, and see how I have this kind of like circular thing around them, you know, and this I see as like, and I call it Christ's vision, and I'll explain a little bit more about what that means, but basically it's just wanting to see the truth. This vision, this understanding, you know, is around positive people, and you know, it's an open vision. Anyways, meaning to say that the comparison is this other doodle here, which if it's, I think it might come backwards anyway, so who knows if you guys can even see this. But this is the opposite version. This is the person, and they have this square in front of them, and I put a square around them. And this is the shielded vision. You know, we put this reflective shield in front of ourselves. And so instead of like the Christ vision, which is circular, and like I mentioned about positive laws, it's all-encompassing and it's accepting. It sees through a filter of love and acceptance and wanting of cohesion and unity, harmonious solutions, right? Understanding that everything it sees outside of it is a reflection of self, is a reflection of the great creator, and that everything happening is happening in the mind of God. This type of vision, you know, is positively aligned and is, you know, promotes a porous boundary. So another thing, like with this porous boundary, is that what you see outside of you, you have this recognition point that it is part of you, or that it might as well be you, or that it's very much on the same footing and ground as you, and that there's a lot of more similarities and connection with everything that's out there, that we're literally tied and connected together. And so what you do to self is done to other self. What you do to anyone out there, great other, whoever it is, any other, that is a reflection of you, and you're doing literally to yourself, actually. The shielded view boxes us in to separatism and shields all of that conversation and exchange, and says, no, we are putting sharp angles. Everything is very clearly defined. It's black and white. It is not round. It is not gray area. It's not subject to conscious contemplation and alchemy in a session. It's cut and dry. It is what it is. Follow the rules. And this creates division and separation from all others out there. Every other is literally other and not of you, has no bearing on you, on your inner self, has no connection to you or your inner self. And, you know, that's it. You know, basically the outside world is like just resources there for taking, to supply and utilize for your system. Your system itself is a closed system. It does not allow interaction in a porous way. And so it itself and its laws lock it in, that says, you know, only things can come in and go out off of my little accounting balance sheet, needs to be monitored. It has to have purpose, that we see, that the laws of the system designate as purposeful for the system. And also any outward exchanges also need to be highly monitored and you know, scanned over and assessed beforehand, because they're going to leave a void. They're going to leave an empty space that's going to need to be filled again if you so choose to share this thing, put it out there, give it away, whatever. So focus on organizing, analyzing, even projecting out this sort of accounting balance sheet is what takes the mainframe focus in a negative system. It's very much completely concerned with what it gets out of a thing and what it has to put into a thing, because it does not view its system as eternal. It does not view its system as ever flowing, tapped into source creator that will, just keep going forever. It's not tapped into source creator. Either it doesn't believe in that completely at all, or it's afraid of believing in that completely, and so it's made its mind up to operate without it for now. It has a remembrance of God being there, but it's either turned God into a super bad guy that he has to run away from for some reason, or it turns himself into the super bad guy, God into the super good guy, and that also you need to run away from because you're bad. And you also, that heavily engages the laws of the negative system to have this really hidden blockade as to what their system is doing, because they want to hide and maintain for as long as possible, versus open, organic vision of Christ. There's nothing to hide from. There's nothing to run from. There's nothing but exploration of manyness that you're not being judged against, that you're here to grow and evolve through, and work creation power of choice and free will here. And so they're two really different perspectives of operation, and those perspectives of truth and of truth, really set the functions and set what will be allowed for the processes, and at the end for the product of what comes out. And this is another kind of point in my doodle. I won't show it again because it's just really trashy. But this is the same thing with systems and the way that torrido works and balances itself. The torrido in itself has 3 parts. So it's always doing outward and inward operations. And there is supposed to be the harmonious, coagulation, really, of outward and inward functions and growth and change and all of that. So both negative and positive systems, they have all 3, always. What happens is, with the negative system alignment, it wants to monitor, control, and even separate out the 3 systems. And with that comes their kind of hierarchy of importance, because they can't have, when they separate out the 3, they can't all be on equal footing. Negative agenda doesn't believe in equality at all. It has a top-down focus. And so everything has to meet its filter of how it sees things, which is hierarchical and top-down. And so it will put the 3 systems in a top-down function, unfortunately. And that in itself, it causes a lot of incorrect operations and detrimental activity within the system. And it will self-confirm itself that it is not eternal and that it cannot work forever and that it has to have more in order to keep going. And it does this to itself by chopping off its legs, by separating out the systems, not allowing them to work harmoniously, to be on equal footing with each other. And instead they set them up in a category that fits their mindset. And it's not standard either. As much as negative system wants to claim black and white standard instructions across the board, they are also two-faced in all their presentations and in every rule they write. They got their fingers behind their back, and they know it. And, so this is another thing with their foolish presentation of sameness, control, and this kind of like scientific, experimental, sterile environments and same reproduction of the sameness with the same product all the time. This is what their obsession with the appearance of the product at the end of the line is all about, because to them that's their control mechanism. To them that means they won, or they did it correctly, or they're right. is only based on this, the final product. And everything else is kind of like blacked out. Who cares how we got there? Who cares what we're running in here? We're all doing it the same. Look, the product is the same. But really, they're not all doing it in the same in there. They're running based off of affinities, based off of really polarizing emotional things, because that's where they get the most pull from, and that's where they can knot up all their traps and ties and harness systems in, is with the emotional pull. And so they've got many strings attached into what they're doing in there, even though they pretend that they don't, and they pretend that they're very detached and unemotional, and that it's black and white, cut and dry. But it's very much not. And if you ever go try to lift their curtain or poke at what they're doing in there, or bring and present to them, hey, you don't even have a chain of command that causes the functionality, the distortion of each system here. You are editing, changing, and adapting that controlled system to, fit each different model in each different piece of the process. They will react unbelievably volatile. It will be extreme, triggering of emotions and of reactions and responses. It will be like they think that their whole life is threatened and that their life is on the line, and they're going to kill, have extreme responses in order to just not have anybody prove the fact that's true. It's just like liars who get caught in their own lies, and you're just pointing out plain facts. You'll see them get absolutely emotional, unbelievably riled up, or violent, or aggressive, or crying and sad, and it's like that's how it goes. That's how it works for them. Unfortunately, if they were just open and transparent about the whole thing, they wouldn't even care. And actually, real, true solutions and actual productivity, evolution, change can happen easier, more fluid, and more comfortably if you have a level of transparency. But they cannot, that's not written into their laws. That means they're losing control. That means their system's about to fall apart. They're in the red area of everything's triggered. All little bells and whistles are going off. Their whole machine's going to fall apart. It's going to overheat and just collapse. So yeah. I had got off on this whole tangent because I was saying about the hole in my picture. I put a black hole, and I put a black hole in systems. So I made a bunch of different kind of diagrams or infographics, drawings, online, computer generated, Canva through Canva, not like AI. I didn't use AI and say, hey, AI, make a way better picture of my drawing here. I really, use Canva as a human and do the things, make the images myself and put them together and type the words myself and choose the graphics and everything. So I made I've made a few different models of this, systematic teredos for people, for vessels. Well, not just for people, because all systems are the same, but whatever. With this black hole in it, meaning that the negative system always needs to fill more and more and more. It is not abundant. It is not operating in a surplus. Versus positive system, which is abundant and operating in a surplus at all times. And that motion, that energetic outward flow is the positive teredo. The positive teredo's laws and functionality and operations are driven off of inward service that has a purpose, that wants to do something to help others, to create something, to build something. And the external operations are focused on offering that service. And by offering the service and by having this positive outward seeking, it brings back retribution in a lot of different ways. And because the open system of positive alignment is like I mentioned, it's 360 degrees. It allows input and output of all different types. So it is never just seeking retribution. And it's never tied its service to retribution specifically. And like an obvious kind of layman's terms, a metaphor would be, say, a carpenter really loves to build and make things. His perspective, if he's operating from a positive alignment and seeking to keep that positive alignment, right? The laws in the system that he's operating from have ideas, have something already. They have a surplus of abundance, energy, skill set, tools, resources. All of these different things make up part of their abundant surplus. And say he wants to build a treehouse. All of the actions, the project being built itself, it coming to fruition, comes from this place of service, and what fuels the action, what fuels him to drop the plans and to get nailing it together and putting it together and seeing it really come out to the carpenter who's heart-centered and positively aligned. Every time he's putting a plank down, everything that he's building and drawing and sketching and looking at the tree and making it, he's enjoying that. He's getting a little bit of retribution, a little bit of positive incoming feedback, being paid for this by loving what he's doing. So in the moment, positive systems pay off all the time. There's no later expenditure. There's no balancing of the books later. It's like everything that you're doing, every thought, every action is retribution payment back to you. It's energetic. It's enjoying what you're doing. It's getting exercise. It's practicing your skill. All of these things are little pieces of retribution, ways that you're getting paid back for doing this service right now, for going through with that energy call inside of you that says, I want to do this thing. And so he builds the whole treehouse. It's beautiful. A kid in the neighborhood sees it and loves it and is like, this is, my new favorite treehouse. And that even someone coming there, kids coming to play on it, and that is another form of payment for this carpenter. And we could throw in the money and even say that, okay, even if you're hired, even if they have that treehouse and other parent sees it and says, hey, I want one right in my yard, but can you build me one? Same scenario. Even with the lingering tishing signs and the money in the future to be coming in for the payment of this, that is not at the forefront of a positively aligned service. It is still that payment retribution of enjoying what you're doing, every moment of it, really enjoying it and giving it your all and putting love into the creation of making it. And then later down the road, if they pay you for it, and when they pay you for it, it's like, thank you very much. But the work, the emotion and the energy that's tied into the whole project is not dependent on that money, on the amount, on getting it, on anything. And this is where, the delineation of the line between negative and positive systems and thinking of perspective come into it. Because a negatively aligned carpenter will only build once they need a payment in the forefront, pay half of it up front, so I know you're going to pay me later, so I can buy all the supplies, so I can do this thing. And it's really, they're going to rush through it. They're going to be on a time crunch. They're going to have other scheduled appointments to get to. They're going to be only working at this certain hour of this certain day. And they're going to, want all of these securities put down. And what if somebody gets hurt on the site and all these other kind of things. And God forbid that they hammer their finger while they're doing the job, because they're going to blame the homeowner probably, or put it in the contract that if I get hurt, you still have to pay me or whatever. Because all of the focus of that carpenter's mind is on the retribution. It's on getting things to fulfill the void that he's already expending out to the time he's lost making the project, the time he's at that person's house, all of the resources, his own energy, all those things have to be paid for in order for him to do this job. And then he's got to cut even, or hopefully he's going to make a profit, is his mindset. I'm losing profit, I'm losing profit, I'm losing profit. At every turn, that's where your focus is at. It's a whole different experience. It's a whole different setup. And I bet that the product of the treehouse would look a lot different. And I mean, just to bring it back to the initial thing, the negatively aligned carpenter would never just be in the woods building a treehouse because it feels good for him, because he had an idea of it and that tree looked like it really deserved a treehouse. He would never waste his time doing something that wasn't immediately paid back to him. He would never offer freely time, energy, and least of resources that actually cost him money to go and buy. They're never going to do that. Open systems operate abundantly because they are freely offered. You tap into a freely offered system, and guess what? You get paid. You get retribution. It's not ever probably going to be the retribution that you projected and expected and what you think you need for your system, because it doesn't work like that. It's not about the ego-driven, what I think I need to promote good work within my system. Negative systems, that's what they think. They think there's a CEO mind in their little separated system that has created these laws that work for the system to benefit itself, and then it interacts with the whole later. And it's not like that at all. It's constantly interacting with the whole. You get all different versions of retribution. The more that you open yourself up to that, in fact, the more that you will even enjoy whatever you're doing. And realize you are being paid for it in many different ways. And in fact, you do have plenty of energy to do still whatever you'd like to do. But yeah, it's all a mindset, and it depends on what the crucial laws at the backbone of the system are saying. Is it a law of one? Are you connected holistically to the whole? Do you operate on an abundant surplus? Or are you disconnected from the whole? And are you operating on a limited resource base that needs to be continually fulfilled? It's your choice how you choose to use your energies. It's a free-for-all, freedom of thought and exploration of manyness here. You are free to chop off your own legs and act like a paraplegic and cry poor, oh woe is me, somebody help me out, all that you want. Meanwhile, there's plenty of people who just want to use their own body and legs and do whatever they want for good development and experience of life. They're both readily available to us. So that's my talk today about kind of the laws behind boundaries and creation of systems, and how systems get created, and then what they do in their processes. I think I'll come back in another video and talk about a little bit more about boundary settings and the interactions, and we'll bring in the privacy, transparency kind of talk after. So thanks for joining me. If you listened to me babble on this morning, I really appreciate it. Thank you for your contribution to our collective. We would not be the same without you. Thank you for witnessing mine, and I'll see you next time.